The Tibetan Book of the Dead guides consciousness through the intermediate state between death and rebirth. This text outlines the experiences encountered in the Bardo, a transitional phase of 49 days. The primary goal is to recognize the true nature of reality and achieve liberation from the cycle of rebirth. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, also known as Bardo Thodol, serves as a spiritual guide to the afterlife. Padmasambhava authored the Tibetan Book of the Dead. The book describes the soul's journey through 3 intermediate states known as bardos. At the moment of death, the soul experiences the clear light of pure consciousness. This encounter presents a profound opportunity for liberation. The clear light represents the potential for enlightenment and release from the cycle of rebirth. The Chikai Bardo refers to the intermediate state between death and rebirth. Recognition of the clear light during the Chikai Bardo results in immediate liberation. Immediate liberation, or nirvana, is achieved through recognizing the clear light. Failure to recognize the clear light due to unpreparedness results in a missed opportunity for liberation. Unpreparedness obscures the clear light, preventing recognition and hindering the path to liberation. The missed opportunity signifies a failure to grasp the potential for freedom inherent in the clear light. In Chonyid Bardo, the soul experiences visions that are projections of its own mind. These visions reflect the soul's karma, desires, and fears. The visions encountered are not external entities but manifestations of internal states. Chonyid Bardo visions may include peaceful deities. Peaceful deities represent positive karmic influences. These visions are part of the intermediate state between death and rebirth. Chonyid Bardo visions may include wrathful deities. Wrathful deities symbolize negative karmic influences. These visions represent the manifestation of one's own internal struggles. Recognizing visions as illusions is crucial for liberation in the Chonyid Bardo. The Chonyid Bardo is a transitional state where illusory experiences can lead to either confusion or enlightenment. Liberation is achieved by understanding the illusory nature of the visions encountered in the Chonyid Bardo. Chonyid Bardo refers to the intermediate state between death and rebirth. Visions experienced during the Chonyid Bardo are manifestations of past actions and their consequences. These visions reflect the soul's accumulated karma influencing its future rebirth. Sidpa Bardo represents the intermediate state of rebirth, characterized by a powerful karmic pull. During Sidpa Bardo, the soul feels an intense compulsion to seek a new existence. Karmic tendencies act as the driving force, guiding the soul towards its next life. In Sidpa Bardo, the soul perceives visions of couples, representing opportunities for new connections. These visions symbolize the potential for new relationships and experiences in the soul's journey. The visions of couples reflect the soul's innate desire for connection and completion. In Sidpa Bardo, the soul unconsciously selects a new body. The soul's karmic inclinations heavily influence the choice of a new body. This unconscious selection process is guided by accumulated karmic predispositions. The cycle of rebirth continues until detachment from worldly desires is achieved. Spiritual awareness is essential for liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Breaking the cycle requires both detachment and spiritual awareness. The Tibetan Book of the Dead views death as a transformative opportunity rather than a definitive end. This perspective reframes death as a crucial stage in the cycle of existence. The book provides guidance for navigating the intermediate state between death and rebirth. The journey through the Bardos presents opportunities for significant spiritual growth. Spiritual growth involves expanding awareness and understanding of oneself and the universe. Navigating the Bardos can lead to profound insights and transformative experiences. Liberation represents the ultimate objective, freedom from the cycle of birth and death. This liberation signifies a transcendence beyond the limitations of physical existence. Achieving liberation involves breaking free from attachments and desires that perpetuate the cycle. Mindfulness involves cultivating present moment awareness in daily life. Practicing mindfulness prepares individuals to approach death with greater acceptance and less fear. Cultivating mindfulness in life is an essential step in preparing for death. Detachment from worldly attachments is essential for spiritual growth. Spiritual progress requires a conscious effort to reduce dependence on material possessions and sensory pleasures. By releasing attachments, Individuals can achieve inner peace and clarity, fostering spiritual advancement. Compassion, directed towards both oneself and others, is fundamental for achieving spiritual liberation. Self-compassion involves understanding and accepting one's own imperfections and suffering without judgment. Compassion for others entails recognizing their suffering and desiring to alleviate it, fostering empathy and connection. Cultivating compassion reduces egocentricity, promoting a broader perspective and interconnectedness with all beings. The clear light is conceptualized as a radiant, pure white light. This radiant light embodies clarity, purity, and illumination. The purity of the light signifies the absence of distortion or interference. Visual metaphors can represent abstract concepts through relatable imagery. Deities are often depicted as serene and benevolent figures in visual metaphors. This representation uses peaceful deities as a visual metaphor for serenity and benevolence. Wrathful deities are visually represented as powerful figures embodying intense energy and force. However, these deities are ultimately illusory, representing internal mental states rather than external realities. The visual metaphor emphasizes that the perceived power and intensity of these figures are projections of the mind. Understanding this illusion allows one to harness the energy represented by wrathful deities for positive transformation. Rebirth is conceptualized as a continuous cyclical process. The cyclical nature of rebirth implies perpetual transformation and renewal. This cycle lacks a definitive beginning or end, highlighting its eternal quality. Liberation, in a metaphorical sense, represents transcending a cyclical process. Transcending the cycle leads to the attainment of a state of inner peace. This state of peace symbolizes freedom from constraints and the achievement of ultimate tranquility. The Chikai Bardo is a transitional state. The Chikai Bardo stages are represented in a flowchart. The flowchart illustrates the progression through the Chikai Bardo. The Chonyid Bardo is a transitional state between death and rebirth. The Chonyid Bardo consists of sequential stages that a consciousness navigates after death. Visualizing the Chonyid Bardo as a flowchart clarifies its sequential and process-oriented nature. Each stage within the Chonyid Bardo presents unique challenges and opportunities for spiritual growth. The Sidpa Bardo is a transitional stage between death and rebirth in Tibetan Buddhism. The Sidpa Bardo stage involves various experiences and perceptions before the next rebirth. A flowchart illustrates the sequential stages within the Sidpa Bardo. The flowchart begins with the initial dissolution of consciousness after death. Subsequent stages involve encounters with karmic visions and opportunities for liberation. The flowchart concludes with the selection of a new rebirth based on accumulated karma. In the Chonyid Bardo, karma plays a central role in shaping one's experiences. Desires act as a driving force, propelling the individual through the various visions of the Bardo. The visions experienced in the Chonyid Bardo are directly influenced by the interplay of karma and desires. The nature of one's karma and the intensity of one's desires determine the specific visions encountered. Karmic tendencies significantly influence the selection of a new body in the Sidpa Bardo. Stronger karmic imprints lead to a more direct and compelling attraction towards specific rebirth options. Weaker or mixed karmic tendencies result in a less defined and more uncertain path towards rebirth. The choice of a new body is not random, but determined by the accumulated effects of past actions and intentions. In Tibetan Buddhism, Bardo refers to the intermediate state between death and rebirth. The Bardo is a transitional period where consciousness is separated from the physical body. During the Bardo, the consciousness experiences various visions and opportunities that influence the next rebirth. Nirvana is often described as a state of perfect peace and happiness, free from suffering and the cycle of rebirth. It represents the ultimate goal in Buddhism, signifying the extinction of desire, hatred, and ignorance. Achieving nirvana transcends the limitations of the physical world and the ego, leading to profound spiritual liberation. Karma is defined as the principle of cause and effect, where actions influence future experiences. Positive actions lead to positive results, while negative actions lead to negative results. Karma is not seen as fate, but as a system where individuals have the power to shape their future through their choices. Chikai Bardo refers to the bardo of this life, the interval between birth and death. This bardo encompasses all experiences and perceptions encountered during one's lifetime. The Chikai Bardo is characterized by the continuous flow of experiences, shaping an individual's karmic trajectory. The Chonyid Bardo is a crucial concept within Tibetan Buddhism. Chonyid Bardo refers to the intermediate state of experiencing the luminosity of reality after death. This state involves recognizing the true nature of mind and reality. Successful navigation of the Chonyid Bardo leads to liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Sidpa Bardo refers to the intermediate state between death and rebirth in Tibetan Buddhism. It is one of the 6 bardos, or intermediate states of consciousness, described in Tibetan Buddhist teachings. During Sidpa Bardo, the consciousness is said to experience visions and opportunities for liberation before entering a new life. Recognizing the clear light in the Chikai Bardo leads to liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Failure to recognize the clear light results in continued wandering in the Bardo realms. The clear light represents the fundamental nature of reality, obscured by habitual patterns. Recognition requires prior spiritual practice and familiarity with the nature of mind. In the Chonyid Bardo, the recognition of illusions is crucial for liberation. Failure to recognize illusions leads to continued suffering and rebirth within samsara. Recognizing illusions allows one to break free from the cycle of rebirth and attain enlightenment. The Bardo experience tests one's ability to discern reality from illusion. Karmic tendencies significantly influence the rebirth process within the Sidpa Bardo. Strong, positive karmic tendencies lead to more favorable rebirths, characterized by positive circumstances and experiences. Conversely, negative karmic tendencies result in less desirable rebirths, marked by suffering and challenging conditions. The intensity and nature of karmic imprints directly shape the experiences and future trajectory of beings within the Sidpa Bardo. Karma influences the visions experienced in the Chonyid Bardo. Positive karma manifests as peaceful, enlightening visions. Negative karma manifests as frightening, chaotic visions. The strength and nature of past actions determine the clarity and intensity of these visions. Karmic tendencies significantly influence the selection of a new physical form. Predominant karmic imprints act as attractors, guiding consciousness towards compatible physical embodiments. The alignment between karmic predispositions and physical attributes determines the suitability of a new existence. This process ensures a continuity of experience, reflecting the accumulated effects of past actions and intentions. Mindfulness practices can serve as a countermeasure in preparing for death. Mindfulness involves focusing on the present moment without judgment, fostering acceptance, and reducing anxiety about the future. Regular mindfulness meditation can cultivate a sense of inner peace and equanimity, mitigating the fear of death. Detachment is cultivated as a countermeasure to break the cycle of rebirth. Cultivating detachment involves reducing attachment to worldly desires and ego. Breaking the cycle of rebirth leads to liberation from suffering and the attainment of enlightenment. Compassion is cultivated as a countermeasure to negative emotions, fostering spiritual growth. Developing compassion involves recognizing the shared humanity and suffering of all beings. Compassion enhances spiritual development by promoting empathy, kindness, and understanding. Spiritual growth through compassion leads to increased inner peace, resilience, and a sense of interconnectedness. The Chikai Bardo represents the intermediate state of existence experienced immediately after death. During the Chikai Bardo, the individual experiences a separation of consciousness from the physical body. This transitional phase offers opportunities for liberation through recognition and understanding of the true nature of reality. The Chonyid Bardo is the intermediate state of experiencing reality after death. During the Chonyid Bardo, one confronts karmic visions and the potential for liberation. Recognition of these visions as projections of one's own mind is key to achieving liberation in the Chonyid Bardo. Failure to recognize these projections leads to further cycles of rebirth. The Sidpa Bardo represents the intermediate state between death and rebirth, characterized by karmic visions and the potential for liberation. During the Sidpa Bardo, the consciousness encounters various karmic appearances, which can be either terrifying or enlightening. Recognition of these karmic appearances as projections of one's own mind is crucial for achieving liberation in the Sidpa Bardo. The Sidpa Bardo offers a unique opportunity to break free from the cycle of rebirth through mindful awareness and non-attachment. Clear light can be represented symbolically. Symbolic representations distill complex concepts into simplified visual forms. Illustrative graphics can effectively communicate abstract ideas. Peaceful deities are symbolically represented through illustrative graphics. Illustrative graphics use symbolic elements to convey the essence of peaceful deities. The symbolic representation aims to capture the qualities and attributes associated with peaceful deities. Wrathful deities are symbolically represented through specific iconographic elements. Common symbolic elements include weapons representing the destruction of ego and ignorance. Skulls and severed heads symbolize the overcoming of death and negative emotions. Flames and dynamic poses signify the transformative power and energy of wrath. The cycle of rebirth is symbolically represented through recurring patterns and interconnected forms. Recurring patterns visually emphasize the continuous nature of the rebirth cycle. Interconnected forms illustrate the interdependence of each stage within the cycle. Liberation is symbolically represented through the breaking of chains. Open birdcage symbolizes freedom from constraint. A butterfly emerging from a cocoon represents transformation and liberation. The act of climbing a mountain symbolizes overcoming obstacles and achieving liberation. Peaceful deities are often depicted with serene expressions, embodying calmness and compassion. Wrathful deities are characterized by fierce expressions and dynamic poses, symbolizing power and protection. Both peaceful and wrathful deities serve distinct roles within their respective belief systems. Peaceful deities often represent creation, growth, and harmony. Wrathful deities often represent destruction, transformation, and the overcoming of obstacles. The Bardo Thodol describes three bardos: the bardo of dying, the bardo of reality, and the bardo of becoming. The bardo of dying encompasses the period from the onset of death until the clear light of reality manifests. The bardo of reality is the experience of the clear light, the recognition of one's true nature. The bardo of becoming is the period after the clear light, where the consciousness seeks a new rebirth. Each bardo represents a distinct phase of consciousness between death and rebirth. Different cultures and individuals approach death preparation with varying philosophies and practices. Some focus on practical arrangements, such as writing wills and pre-planning funerals, to ease the burden on loved ones. Others prioritize spiritual or emotional preparation through meditation, reflection, or reconciliation with estranged individuals. Financial preparation involves managing assets, settling debts, and ensuring the financial security of dependents. Psychological preparation may include therapy or counseling to address fears, anxieties, and unresolved issues related to mortality. The Chikai Bardo represents an intermediate state immediately following death. The initial phase involves a clear light of primordial awareness. Subsequently, the deceased encounters peaceful and wrathful deities. These deities are projections of one's own consciousness. The Chikai Bardo culminates in the search for a new rebirth. The Chonyid Bardo represents an intermediate state between death and rebirth. The Chonyid Bardo involves a chronological sequence of experiences. This timeline details the specific events and stages within the Chonyid Bardo. The Sidpa Bardo is a transitional period between death and rebirth. The initial phase involves experiencing karmic visions and encounters. Subsequent stages involve attraction to potential rebirth realms. The Bardo culminates in the selection of a new womb and the beginning of a new life. Ram Dass' perspective on love emphasizes its unconditional and all-encompassing nature. Love, in this context, transcends personal preferences and extends to all beings without judgment. This understanding of love promotes acceptance and compassion as fundamental aspects of human interaction. The Tibetan Book of the Dead contains profound wisdom on the nature of consciousness and the afterlife. It guides individuals through the intermediate state between death and rebirth, known as the Bardo. The book emphasizes recognizing the true nature of reality to achieve liberation from the cycle of rebirth. Meditation can play a significant role in preparing oneself for death. Through meditation, individuals can cultivate acceptance and reduce anxiety surrounding death. Regular meditation practice fosters a sense of inner peace and detachment from worldly attachments. By confronting mortality in a controlled meditative state, individuals can develop resilience and emotional stability. Tibetan Buddhist practices provide guidance for navigating the bardos, the intermediate states between death and rebirth. These practices aim to help individuals recognize and attain liberation during the bardo states. Meditation and visualization techniques are employed to prepare for and navigate the experiences encountered in the bardos. Guidance from experienced teachers and reliance on sacred texts are crucial aspects of bardo practice. The Tibetan Book of the Dead is subject to varied interpretations. Interpretations range from literal descriptions of the afterlife to symbolic representations of inner psychological states. Some view it as a guide for navigating the bardo, the intermediate state between death and rebirth. Others interpret it as a manual for spiritual transformation and self-discovery during life. Numerous resources exist for those interested in learning more about Tibetan Buddhism. These resources range from introductory texts to advanced philosophical treatises. Online platforms and community centers also provide access to teachings and practices. Numerous books and articles explore the Tibetan Book of the Dead. These resources provide diverse perspectives on its historical, religious, and philosophical significance. Scholarly analyses delve into the text's complex symbolism and interpretations. Documentary films explore diverse perspectives on death and the afterlife. These films often feature interviews with theologians, philosophers, and individuals with near-death experiences. Documentaries analyze cultural beliefs, scientific research, and personal narratives related to mortality. Such films provide a platform for examining existential questions and confronting the human fear of death. The Tibetan Book of the Dead's core teachings can be visually represented as a conceptual map. This map illustrates the relationships between various concepts within the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Interconnected nodes represent key concepts, while connecting lines illustrate their relationships. The visual representation aids in understanding the complex interconnectedness of these concepts. Clear light can be visually represented as a spectrum of electromagnetic radiation. The intensity and frequency of light waves determine its perceived color and brightness. Light exhibits both wave-like and particle-like properties, a concept known as wave-particle duality. The Chonyid Bardo is an intermediate state of consciousness after death, characterized by vivid and intense visionary experiences. These visions are often symbolic representations of the deceased's past actions, thoughts, and karmic imprints. The clarity and intensity of the Chonyid Bardo visions can be overwhelming, leading to confusion and disorientation. Guidance and mindfulness practices can help navigate the Chonyid Bardo and prevent negative karmic influences from taking hold. The Sidpa Bardo is an intermediate state between death and rebirth. During the Sidpa Bardo, the deceased experiences visions and opportunities to choose a new existence. The choice of a new body in the Sidpa Bardo determines the nature of the subsequent life. The process of choosing a new body is influenced by past actions and karmic imprints. This interactive quiz tests understanding of core concepts from the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Questions cover topics such as the Bardo states, consciousness transition, and liberation practices. Correct answers reinforce learning, while incorrect answers provide immediate feedback and explanations. The quiz format encourages active engagement and deeper comprehension of complex spiritual teachings. Mindfulness meditation involves focusing awareness on the present moment without judgment. Detachment, in this context, refers to observing thoughts and feelings without becoming consumed by them. Guided meditation provides structured support for cultivating mindfulness and detachment. Key teachings provide a structured framework for understanding complex concepts. Practical applications demonstrate the real-world relevance and utility of theoretical knowledge. Applying key teachings enhances problem-solving skills and decision-making abilities. The synthesis of theory and practice leads to a deeper, more comprehensive understanding. Credits acknowledge the individuals and teams involved in the project. Further resources provide additional information and learning opportunities. Contact information allows viewers to reach out with questions or feedback. Copyright notices protect the intellectual property of the creators. Death marks a profound transformation, shifting existence from the physical to the spiritual realm. Spiritual preparation is essential for navigating this transition with understanding and acceptance. Reflection on mortality cultivates inner peace and appreciation for the present moment.